Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 868 of the Juicebox Podcast. On today's show, we're going to be speaking with Lisa, who has had diabetes for almost 40 years. But she's not really that old. It's interesting, isn't it? Lots of perspective, still a young person. While you're listening today, please remember that nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan or becoming bold with insulin. U.S. residents who are type 1s or the caregiver of type 1s, please go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and complete their survey, because the information that you will share will help to move type 1 diabetes research forward. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. Go fill out that survey. Juicebox Podcast listeners get 35% off at CozyEarth.com. That's off your entire order. So if you're looking for sheets or pajamas or joggers or anything just super comfy, check out CozyEarth.com. Use the offer code Juicebox at checkout to save 35%. Whether you're looking for individual, couples, or help for your teen, BetterHelp is the online therapy place that you should check out. BetterHelp.com/Juicebox. That's who's sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. And so when you go to my link, BetterHelp.com/Juicebox, you will get 10% off your first month of therapy. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Juicebox. The podcast is also sponsored today by Touched by Type 1. Head now to touchedbytype1.org to find out all of the good things that Touched by Type 1 is doing for people living with diabetes. And if you look at their calendar, see what's coming up in the future, there's a speaking thing. It's in Orlando. It's months from now, I know, but I committed to being there. So if you'd like to hear me speak live, or you're just in the area and you want to check it out, touchedbytype1.org.
My name is Lisa Blaine-Hughes.
Good. And do you have type 1 diabetes?
Yes. So I'm a type 1 diabetic, was diagnosed at the age of 9. I'm going into my, year number 38 of having diabetes.
Wow. 38 years, 9 years old. That makes you 47?
Yeah.
Well, look at me. I was erasing something on my whiteboard while I did the math. So
did you? I know. I just grabbed my pen and paper to kind of do the math myself because, when I say it out loud, it's crazy.
Yeah.
How long it's been. So
I can imagine. So,
yeah.
All right. So 38 years.
Yeah. I know no different though. So, I mean, some people, they're just like, I don't know what it would be like to not have diabetes. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Do you not remember at all the first 9 years?
No, like I do, but I was a kid. And when this came into my family's life, there was no other diabetics. I think I went to public school and there was one other person and that was it. And nowadays it's just so much more common, which is, it's different to hear so many people type 2, type 1. So, at the time I was the only one. So, my family knew about it, but I wouldn't broadcast it. So
it wasn't something you kept to yourself?
Yeah, it was something that I kept the family all knew like that. But when I went to school and stuff, I wouldn't really, I would never tell anybody.
Yeah. Well, what did it mean really at that time to have diabetes? You took a shot before you left for school and one at dinner time?
Yeah. So I had to do, I did my needles. My family, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks when I was diagnosed. And then my family had to, my sister was 3.5 years older. So they took our family through everything, explaining everything. My parents had to learn how to give shots. I think my sister did too, although she's never given me a needle. And then again, me being 9 years old, and then I'd have to do a morning shot. And then it was on the, I think, Lantus and Lonte. That's how beef and pork. And so that's how far back we go. And then, so I was on the 2 different insulins, and then there was a morning shot and a evening shot as well.
You know what I'm finding myself thinking, Lisa, is that I wish I could talk to someone's parent from back then, because I wonder what they were told. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the one thing where I haven't, just going through my journey, and I cannot imagine. And that's where it really pulls at my heartstrings. Because I have a son now, who's not diabetic, but I can't imagine, because I try to manage myself and do his scheduling and school and stuff. And I can't imagine having to manage that on top of it.
I'm also,
I can manage myself, but to manage a little one.
Lisa, if I would have run the recording while we were trying to get your microphone set up, everyone would completely believe you that you would not be able to do more. No,
I know.
But being serious, though, I wonder if they were told that your life expectancy was shorter.
When I was first diagnosed, my grandmother had approached my mom and said, I didn't look well. She thought there was something wrong. And I guess she didn't say it like this, but she was kind of hinting at that she wasn't sure about me. Like just looking like I was very sick.
Oh, like your grandmother was like, that one's not going to make it. Like you were a undersized
possibly,
puppy or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then I think the tip of the iceberg, what had happened is, I remember I was young, probably, between not 9 years old. And then I remember I was so thin and I hid it, because you're wearing clothes and you go through growth spurts and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I realized how much weight loss I had, just because I could see like my ribs and things like that. Sure. And I remember my mom came into the bathroom and I kind of hid from her, and then she was just getting ready, and she told me that I told her that I was dying. And she just stopped everything she did. And she said, oh, why would you say that? She was really concerned. And then she made the doctor's appointment. And then that's when I was diagnosed.
Well, there you go. Wisdom from an old lady. That kid don't look right.
I know, right?
That one couldn't pull a plow. What are we doing? Right. I was even wondering about the doctors. Like, I wonder, like, when you go in and you're diagnosed back then, I have to, like, do they tell you? Do they go, hey, with current treatments, this is going to shorten your life, or you're going to have, who knows what could possibly happen?
Right. I don't know. I just know we went into the doctor's office. They did a urine sample, and he came right back to my mom and said, get her to the hospital immediately. This is urgent.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what my blood sugar was at, but obviously it was really high. So, then they got me and admitted me. They set us up with, like you're set up with, you'd have a doctor, obviously, to manage that. There was also a nutritionist, or like a dietitian, and also a social worker to work with us.
Okay. Even back then. Well, that's pretty great. So then let's kind of jump through the seasons of your life with diabetes. So early on, you were shooting the way you described earlier with insulin. Do you remember moving to a faster acting, more modern insulin?
I don't remember the timeline. I just remember like stages in life, like the growth type of thing. So newly diagnosed, it's like a learning curve for everybody. So we really focused on diet and snacks and things like that, and balancing that out. And then being age 9, and then you go to that through that teenage years where, and again, both my parents worked, then when they went through a separation. So, I grew up really quick, having to manage this. So I was in charge of that, so to speak. And then they would go with me to my appointments, because we'd go to appointments like that, and they would just review things. So then you go through that rebellion kind of stage where you're not testing as much as you should. Mm-hmm. And then I'm trying to think about college and things like that. It was getting a little bit easier, but then I entered into the fitness world and working out and getting more on track with eating and really paying attention with that.
Right.
So that kind of counteracted things. And then diabetes has always been a background, so to speak. Background meaning I know what I have to do, and like it doesn't kind of run me. I work around it, or I work with it.
Well, I think it's really common for people who were diagnosed decades ago because there wasn't a lot for you to do, really. I'm sure it felt like it, but compared to the diagnostics, the day-to-day, moment-to-moment diagnostics that we have available today, I mean, you were shooting insulin, eating to a schedule, basically, right? And then, and I mean, honestly, the blood tests weren't very good, right? Did you ever use urine tests? Probably.
Yes.
You might have. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was more like, I mean, honestly, back then it wouldn't have felt that way. But with today's perspective, it was basically like, here, take this pill and test, or, shoot this thing in your arm and test here. And because even when you got the test back, wasn't much you could do, right?
No. And they were just like, and especially they didn't have any answers for us. So it was a matter of, your blood sugars, because again, when you're taking that insulin, it's throughout the body. Whereas now you can really play around with it with your meals. Mm-hmm. Like I'm still on that background insulin because I'm on the insulin pump now.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, if your blood sugar was at a number, we just didn't have the flexibility. Like we would never, in my situation, I wouldn't go and give an extra dose of insulin. Whereas now that's what you would do.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is that it was very just sort of do this then, do this now, and go to the next day, and then say to yourself like, I'm not letting diabetes hold me back, and and going forward. But you didn't. But what was happening to your health at that point? Even were you tracking A1Cs back then, or how did you measure your health?
They did track A1C. So I think as I've gotten older, my A1C has gotten better, creeped down lower and lower and lower. But when I look, I mean, there wasn't a lot of, like you said, there wasn't a lot of outlets back then. So you would go to your doctor's appointment. They would tell you what your A1C was. They would get you to work with your dietitian if there was any issues. And that was basically it.
So if you were testing higher, then they would attach that to food and then try to change your food intake. It wasn't really about the insulin as much.
Yes, and I don't think they initially said that, but that's something where it's been hard for me to get out of that mindset. Mm-hmm. So because it's not always, and that's taken me some time realizing that everything comes into play with blood sugars, your hormones, your stress level, whether or not you are doing like weight training or you're doing distance running. So it's been hard for me to, not hard, but something that I've had to get my head around and be okay with it, especially with the hormones and things like that. And stress is huge. It's
a complete relearning of something that you thought you knew already.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I mean, cause you're going along for a long, I'm going to guess, 38 years ago. Right. I'm going to guess that for 20 years, you pretty much managed the way we talked about. And then one day somebody said, like, you should get one of these insulin pump things. And you were like, why do I need that? And then they said, and then what year do you remember what year you got a pump?
Oh my gosh. It must've been, how long have I been on it for? Maybe just a little over 10, maybe going on 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So you get a pump.
And that was a learning curve too. Like it's different.
and in the pump, what insulin?
We use, oh my gosh, I can see the box downstairs. It's just
Humalog?
Pardon me?
Humalog?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Kind of like a reddish.
It's Nova Rapid I'm on.
Nova Rapid. Hey, are you in Canada?
Yes.
See, I should have said that sooner. You said oat a couple of times, and
I was on Humalog before, and then now it's one called Nova Rapid. So it's a fast-acting insulin.
Got it.
And then again, if you're on the insulin pump, I'm not sure, but you just, it's on a constant drip. And then every time you eat, or if you had to adjust your insulin, you can just go to the pump. And it's a great managing tool.
Lisa, I'm going to give you a strange look into my mind. I heard you stretch out a couple of words, but your last name is hyphenated. So I put you in Minnesota in my head.
Oh, did you?
Because I was like, there are no fancy hyphenated names in Canada.
No, I'm in Canada, Ontario, Canada. Yeah.
Oh, that's so. I'm just saying I'm an idiot. That's what I was getting at. That's all I was saying. But yeah, I don't know if you were hiding your Canada, but now that I said it, it's coming out more. It's interesting.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Please, it's fine. I love Canada because I've never been there and I have no actual perspective for it.
Oh, really?
I just know what I've been told.
Okay.
Moose, squirrels, snow, sled dogs. That's how I see it. I'm sure.
Yeah, depending on how the snow, though. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So, okay, interesting. So you started when you started, you got to a pump. Even for people listening nowadays who have come in at a more modern time, even getting a pump wasn't really what it is now. Like back then they were just like, hey, you don't have to do shots anymore. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, and this is just, I think the biggest game changer for technology wise is the blood testing sensors.
CGMs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those in my perspective, just from, they can really, they can improve someone's health, like with diabetes, so much.
Yeah. No, I'm always fascinated to talk to people who were in the before place. So, all right, you get your pump about 10, 15 years ago, which is that's not that long ago. That's in 2004, 2005 range in there.
Yeah.
And is that when the learning started about modern management, or was it not till you saw a CGM? And do you have a CGM? Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. How long have you had that?
Probably 3 or 4 years now. So I'm still a little bit old school when it comes to that. My CGM doesn't talk to my pump. That's what eventually I will go to that. But I'm just, I just like I'm on the Libre 2. I just like that one because it lasts for 14 days and I don't have any issues with it falling off. It's just like a second skin. So it's just on the back of my arm. But I was between sensors, just a perfect example, probably 2 weeks ago. And just to give an idea, I tested my blood sugar. This sounds terrible, probably 3 or 4 times in a day with doing the manual blood test. When I'm on the CGM, I will scan my blood sugar 26 times a day.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's a huge difference right there. Right. And when it comes to, just in my mind, that it just gives you that much more control over diabetes, over managing it.
Yeah. No, of course. It's a completely different window into what's happening instead of those snapshots in time and going like, my blood sugar is 145 right now. Or
exactly. I love it. Like the technology that way, and just seeing what's going on inside your body. Like you can know in a sec. I mean, it might not be exact just depending on your reading, but again, it's close enough that and that's, I think, is a huge privilege to us diabetics. That's just my personal opinion.
No, I agree.
Because with me being very active, I can go out for a run. I can see what that exercise is doing to my blood sugar. I've even done a comparison, or I've seen where I've eaten a plant-based black bean brownie in comparison to eating a regular brownie, how fast my blood sugar will be driven up by having like a white sugar base compared to a longer acting carbohydrate. It's amazing seeing those little windows.
Yeah.
So I try and explain that to people who are trying to, even if they're just regular, they don't have diabetes, and they're trying to manage or get a hold of their weight control, or just trying to understand things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very interesting to me, because I figure that everyone knows this, but a lot of people don't have any aspect of the nutrition. And I'm not knocking anyone. I'm just saying that's what has helped me having diabetes and that's one of my goals, is to teach people about nutrition and what's happening behind the scenes in the body from from that perspective.
I'm going to say one thing, and we'll get to that kind of what you do for a living stuff. So it's very interesting to hear you talk about this, because
is it?
Yeah, it super is, because you can hear there's like almost like a childlike wonder, because you lived through it so long without this stuff That your perspective is like, hey, there's a magic thing stuck to my arm. And whenever I want to see my blood sugar, I just hold up the sensor to it and it scans it and there it is. And isn't that crazy? Because, I'm not going to test my blood sugar that many times a day. You have real, like, it's easy to say old school, but you have perspective from a different time, and you can hear the wonder in your voice about the technology and what it offers. It's different than talking to somebody who what is it? It's an expectation. You don't have the expectation because you knew a time without it. People who come in now who will say like, I got this CGM and it said my blood sugar was 150, but I tested my blood sugar was really 140. This thing's not accurate at all. And
really?
And you just said like, close enough. And I was like, ooh, that's a really because I feel that way because I've raised a small child with diabetes without a CGM. And so when I see a number on my daughter's CGM and it's like, I don't know, she's 78 and I test and she's really like 69. I'm like, cool, close enough. And it's a leap that I can make because I've seen it before. Whereas people who come in now are a generation of people who are accustomed to cell phones that are powerful enough to, do what they do, and they have instant technology and they expect things to work constantly, which, technology is always evolving. And no one thinks about, hey, this company devised a way to stick a little thing under my skin.
Yeah.
And there's something about what they coded in that reads the interstitial fluid in my body and tells me what my blood sugar is in real time, or when I scan my thing, if I've got the Libre, whatever it is. Like, they should hear that and be like, that's insane. And instead they're like, it was off by 6 points. This thing's junk. And I'm like, what? And Lisa here is just like, it's all a bonus to you.
Yeah, because I just remember as a kid, like I didn't want to test my blood sugar. Like even now when I was without my sensor for a few days, I was annoyed because I'm like, how am I going to do this? I'm working a fast-paced job. I have to stop and do this. And I felt like I have trouble managing without a sensor.
Yeah.
Like I can do it, but it's such
Lisa, let's be clear. Diabetes way easier with a CGM. Way easier. Yeah. I just got caught up in a minute because I can hear people in my head being like, my CGM was starting up and I had to test my kid's blood sugar 3 times in 2 hours. And like, there's a part inside of me that goes, I get what they're saying. And they want the technology to keep improving. And I'm sure it's going to, but there's another part inside of me that raised a 2-year-old with diabetes with a meter that looked like it came out of a bubblegum machine who's like 3 times in 2 hours. Yeah. Oh no, are you okay? You know what I mean? Like, it's 2 different perspectives.
I can't imagine.
No, I love you. Okay. So let's just tell people, like, what do you do for a living? The podcast is sponsored today by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and is 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. BetterHelp.com/Juicebox. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. And when you use my link, you'll save 10% on your first month of therapy. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. Talk to them however you feel comfortable. Text, chat, phone, or video call. If your therapist isn't the right fit, for any reason at all, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. And the best part for me is that with BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you. And you're going to get more scheduling flexibility and a more affordable price. I myself have just begun using BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Juicebox. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Juicebox. Save 10% on your first month of therapy. And hey, I found that spot on touchedbytype1.org. You go to that link, then hit programs, scroll down, annual conference. Looks like that's when I'm going to be there. They have not announced the date yet for 2023. I hope I didn't spill the beans on something in an earlier episode. Anyway, I've committed to a date. So check out the website, see what they're up to. Really is a fantastic organization. touchedbytype1.org. And don't forget, cozyearth.com. Go there and save 35% off your entire order with the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout at cozyearth.com. You can find links to all of the sponsors at juiceboxpodcast.com in the featured tab on the private Facebook group or in the show notes of the audio app you're listening in right now.
So right now I'm just, I've taken a step back from things. So I'm on that whole, my journey of a new path, but same industry. So, again, I did, back in the day, I just jumped around from job to job to job, and I just kind of say this fast forward. So, having that fitness background, did personal training, like studying, and then I just finished my diploma as a natural holistic nutritionist. So that was in May. So I'm really happy about that. And then I was working in a health food store and working, doing demoing and promotions for a new supplement company. Mm-hmm. And then now I am I am a wellness and dietetics manager at a large retail corporation. So right now I'm just learning, I'm just doing more background things and setting up kind of a wellness nutrition department within a large retailer here in Canada. And then going forward, my goals is they really want to promote nutritional guidance for people. So my goal is to hopefully be running the department and being able to put together classes of information.
So where do you think the interest came from? Was it because you talked about earlier when you're young, right, that things were adjusted through nutrition? And is that how that started for you?
I don't know. I thought about that because my mom was just saying things too, right? So and I tried to figure out what came first, if it was, because I wasn't very athletic or anything growing up. I played some sports, but I wasn't really driven towards that. And then having diabetes, going to high school, I wasn't on any sports teams. And then I got my first gym membership, late high school. And I just stuck with it. I think it was something. And then now that I'm older, I just find it's become more of, I'm very passionate about it. It's a hobby. Yeah. It's something where you can kind of envision something and then do the work. It doesn't feel like work to me, but you can see things change.
A little bit about goal setting, reaching a goal, setting a new goal. That's attractive to you, that idea?
Yeah. And then with the nutrition, I don't know where that came about. I remember when I was doing the personal training back in my 20s, going through the program, nutrition would come up, and I found notes that I found at this age. And I'm like, who wrote this? They were my own notes about it. It had to do with supplements because I have this love for the science behind supplementation and all that, vitamins, minerals, all that. Mm-hmm. I could talk your head off. I love that stuff. It's a science behind it. And then again, when I was upgrading my personal training, that sometimes can be a struggle for the learning because it's just so black and white, the muscles and stuff like that in the body. But when nutrition comes up, it's I know it like the back of my hand. Okay. So there's something there with myself and nutrition. I don't know. I just pick up on it.
Right. So do you think nutrition, the way you think about your nutrition is just would be in specific? It's not that you don't have meaning. You don't need to be meaning, which what I want to say is I just used the wrong word. But what I was going to say was, is it for and because of your diabetes or just because you're a person? You know what I mean?
I think the diabetes has helped that because I I have a true understanding of how foods can break down in the body when it comes to their blood sugar. So when I'm talking to people, I try not to get too scientific because they get that kind of clouded over vision, although they are interested, but I don't realize how much we as diabetics know the science behind like how things break down within the body, which I think is it's just something where, I mean, nutrition doesn't have to be hard and stuff, but there is science behind it too.
So are you talking about digestion and how digestion of food impacts your blood sugar? Or are you talking about?
Yes, just different foods and things like that. And just, like how it really breaks down. I think diabetics have a more understanding, a more in-depth of nutrition.
Yeah. Well, you definitely see the impact of food in a different way.
Yes.
Because it's measurable somewhere.
Right.
How much of that people translate into real understanding and then do something actionable to impact it, I don't know. But it is a journey for sure. You know, I don't think there's a right way to eat. You know, I wouldn't be into telling people how to eat for sure. But I mean, there's no doubt that you can see the impact of, you know, bread or pasta or potatoes on your blood sugar versus other foods that are, you know, simpler, less complex, break down differently, don't have as much sugar, etc. But, you know, it's it really is a process. And I don't know that everybody sees it, but I think they're impacted by it, certainly. So once you see that, once you see how food is impacting your blood sugars, do you make a change about what you're eating, or do you add supplements that help you? I'm not certain what you're saying.
Oh, not necessarily. I just view, like, even when I'm studying like different, I just find it's more of an interest, like an aha moment. Like when like I said, I'll talk about that black bean brownie. Like I've done it before where I don't eat a regular brownie, just not one of my things, but I know what it would do. Cause even if I had something sugary where it had like a higher sugar content, to it, I'll get that. My blood sugar could be at, I mean, if I've done it before where it's at a regular level, and then you see how it impacts your blood sugar. So you're getting that straight up line almost, right?
Yeah.
Like but then if you, if I've had a black bean brownie made with black beans, and I was just curious to see what it was going to do. Cause I thought, oh, well, it's going to affect my blood sugar. Cause there's, I think there was maple syrup when I made them, but then it was this gradual up, and then my blood sugar came back down. So it's just more the side, like how things work within the body, which I find is very interesting.
Yeah. So with all this knowledge and understanding, where can I ask you, like, where your A1C is?
The last time my A1C, I think I was at a 6.1.
Wow, that's cool.
Or 6.8, maybe. I might be a couple points off. Again, I'm surprised myself because I would sit in the 8s, and then over the years it's come down. I've been in the 7s, and then I've made it into the 6s, never the 5s. But you never know.
How much exercise do you get? Like, are you still into it the way you were when you were younger?
Yeah, probably better. I think I'm probably in the best shape of my life now that I'm in my late 40s.
So is it like impact training? Is it weights? Is it cardio? Or is it
right now I'm just going through, because I was doing the distance running. So did the half marathons for a bit, and then not really understanding. I understood nutrition, but not when you're going to be doing a specific sport. So now being through sports nutrition and all that, I have that was an eye opener. So now I do running, but I back down on it a bit, and just to do weight training.
Okay. What did you mean it was an eye opener?
Eye opener where I was working a lot more, a physical job. And then I would do runs in the morning, not long, but I would do like 5K in the morning. I'd go to work and work for 4 hours, come home, go to the gym, do cardio. It was just like that. And then I wasn't fueling my body to what I needed.
Okay. So you eye-opening in the sense that
in the sense of you, and then I would have those, not that I was always just trying to like better my fitness level, but I would always be left, why isn't there any changes? And now at the point where I am in this part, being through education just over the years and learning, I really see that just the difference if you're going to train to that extent, and if you're not fueling right, again, your body will just keep like it's just going to kind of recycle.
So it's the fueling piece that you picked up out of all this, like what you needed to put in that your body needed. And so how did that change? Like what were you doing before and what are you doing now?
Now it's always up and down now. Like I just really have to watch with my stress levels and things like that. And then allowing myself just to refuel properly. So because I'm mostly plant-based, I really have to pay attention to my protein needs and requirements. So that I'm focusing more on that because I think I was undermining my protein intake, and then doing the more running, because in the summertime I will run more.
Okay.
But now with my workload, I can't run as much, but I do keep up with my weight training. So again, it's just one of those where I can still eat the same, but I'm just really paying attention because I'm doing the weight training. So I'm trying to build and just making sure that I have enough protein in my diet, which again, in turn helps with when I'm so busy at work and stuff, and it's physical to have that protein in the background will help stabilize my blood sugar. So I'm not chasing a low and then with a rebound of a high and vice versa.
Where are you getting the protein from? Because you said it was
where am I getting the protein from?
Yeah, you said it was harder because you're plant-based. So you have to get it where?
Yeah. So with the plant-based, I'll just use more. You can get enough protein if you're doing plant-based and other things like that. So now I have implemented, I'm taking more shakes. I will eat meat, just maybe not every day. So I have skip days. So it's more plant-based.
Mm-hmm.
So I will do shakes. I'll do plant-based eggs. You can get them from black beans, any kind of bean type of thing.
Okay.
And there's like protein in your plant foods as well.
Yeah.
So again, I used to be maybe 90% plant-based and now, or 90 to 95. And now I've reduced it. I will have some meat. It's just not every day. Or it's not on a regular basis.
Okay.
But I am eating now like tuna.
What's a good example of a day of your eating?
Oh, good example.
Yeah, like what'd you have for breakfast this morning?
This morning, what did I have? Breakfast is my worst meal of the day. I'm going to be honest. But again, I just figure that, everyone you have to have and I'm not a clean eater every day.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in moderation. So for breakfast, what did I have? I had a half of these blueberry flatbreads. I had that. What else did I have? I had this Joseph's bread. It's a lower carbohydrate, a little bit of protein flatbread. So I had that with some natural peanut butter. And then I'm trying to think, I have coffee, and then I had some water. I took some vitamins, went out for a run, came back, and now I'm just drinking water with collagen, some greens in it.
What vitamins do you take on a daily basis?
Oh gosh, I have to get go through my counter. Now so every day I'll have in my water, I'll put greens. Sometimes right now I'm taking lion's mane.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mushroom, a medicinal mushroom. I do vitamin C. I do zinc. I'll do NAC or NAC. What else? Collagen I do every day.
What's the lion's mane for?
The lion's mane is for brain health, memory. And then again, I used to read so many articles and just studies and things like that. So I have this chart and it talks about each of the medicinal mushrooms, which I'm fascinated by them. I'm really interested in them. I have used a bunch of them. So that one is for brain health.
Right.
And because just with Alzheimer's and things like that, and sometimes they say with diabetes, not that we're high candidates, but I think it was number 3 on my list. So it was one that I implemented. So it also helps with focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you find it valuable? Like, can you look back and say, before I started doing this, I had less focus as an example, but now I'm doing better? Or like how is it measured?
Not right now, because I just started taking it under the tongue. Before I was using capsules and things like that. And because I was taking so much stuff, I think I got lost in the mix of what was working.
Mm-hmm.
So now I find that I'm more basic with my vitamins, although it might seem like a lot to some. I really back down on them and I'm really trying to focus. And because my mindset, I'm always in staying one step ahead. And that's what, again, this is a whole different topic. That's been another frustration with myself and working with my eye specialist and my specialist for diabetes, because when I go to appointments and I'm always looking for what can I do to prolong things, to keep myself in this shape.
Yeah.
And they just kind of shrug their shoulders because I've had diabetes for so long that no one knows.
Are you having any health impacts from?
No, not currently. I did have one of my eyes, I did have some damage that came about after I had my son. But then, so I don't go to a regular, I go to an actual specialist. So I had laser eye surgeries done on it I think I had an overgrowth of the blood vessels.
Yeah.
And then now every time I go back in, he just says, just keep doing what you're doing. There's still a little bit of inflammation, but nothing. It just stays the same.
But that eye thing is from high blood sugars over time.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, but that's the only thing you're noticing so far.
Yeah. And that's like, it has, I didn't even notice it. It was just something that my regular eye doctor, he had noticed and sent me to a specialist. And this is going back like, oh gosh, I've been seeing him for 10 years. So 10 years, he's surprised I'm not wearing glasses yet at my age.
How old is you have one child? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. He's 12.
He's 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you had him tested for type 1 antibodies, or how do you think about that?
I have not. I have tested his blood sugar, although he's not impressed by that, because sometimes you just wonder what someone is sitting at. I'm not worried about him. My only concern is just, I do have limits. I pay attention to how many, yes, he does have pop from like now and again, and he's just gone into a little bit of the sweets, not crazy, but I do find myself watching just because I just think it's a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
But I think that's just because how I grew up. So if he has like a mini can of pop, I'm like, okay, like that's a lot of sugar. Like that's a lot. I don't say anything, but I catch myself noticing.
Right. I understand. You don't drink that stuff, I imagine. So it probably strikes you oddly when somebody else does. That's all. I would
right.
Think.
Yeah. And that was, and that was the other thing too. I didn't realize, I think it happened a few years ago, where the impact of how this can also affect him as a child, because he knows that there's not something wrong with me. I know it's not the greatest way of saying things, but I'm going to say it. Like there's something wrong with me in the whole sense that he knows that I'm actively and being proactive to prolong my health.
Yeah.
So I know that maybe in the back of his mind too, when he was younger, I know that might have had some kind of, it gives a child fear,
right,
as well, right?
Now, it's funny. We don't drink like sugary drinks here, right? And then my son went off to college, and I remember about 2 years ago, he's maybe like maybe he was a rising junior, and we went to a restaurant together, and he got a sweet tea, and I thought, that's crazy. Like, we don't drink sweet tea, and he was an athlete in school. So I think he was looking for calories a lot of the times, because he was just, going like 100 miles an hour. And, but I remember how it struck me. Like, I didn't say anything, but I was like, oh my God, like he's drinking drinks with sugar in it of all the things, but it really did shock me. I remember. I
think people would say, like, if you ever seen with a can of pop, they'd be, what's the matter? Are you low?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, it's that expectation that you don't want to waste those carbs on that. If you, I guess if you love it, you love it. I guess you just learn how to bolus for it. But anyway, so Is there any type 1 in your extended family, mom, dad side?
Okay, so this goes back a long time. So the only person that we know of in my family that had diabetes was my dad's grandmother.
Okay. Dad's
My father's
grandmother. Was she
grandmother.
type 1 or would they not know?
Probably type 1. I don't think type 2 was, yeah, I don't know. Oh gosh, type 2 is more newer to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because even back as a kid and stuff, people might have been insulin resistant, like the older generation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just.
Do you know how old she was when she passed?
I don't.
No.
I don't.
No, so not a lot to talk about. How about other autoimmune issues like hypothyroidism, celiac? Is there any of that going on anywhere?
No.
No.
Yeah, that's why it was just kind of like it was. Yeah, I can't imagine what they went through back then, because it was early 80s, well, like maybe mid 80s, the 1980s.
Is that that's when your dad's an adult, right? In the 80s?
Yeah, and just again, like my family, it was like it was a big event. I'm just talking for them.
Yeah.
I don't know the impact. I didn't realize that when you have this, I try not to impact others, but you don't. I think reading other parents and their journeys with their kids, I thought, wow, like you don't realize how many people it does impact.
Yeah, certainly does. Does your son worry about diabetes? Do you ever talk about that it's a possibility for him, or how do you talk about it?
No, I think he was worried. I didn't realize some stuff has come out, but he'll and I think I have a funny story. What was it? Well, he knows. I think he did a project. This is going back, gosh, I don't know how old he was, grade 1, grade 2, and they had to fill out something for Mother's Day. And then he had written on there, like some of the things had to talk about your mom and stuff. And he said that I take a lot of pills and things like that. And I'm like, when he told me, I was like, you didn't write that, did you? And then he brought it home and I was like shocked. I'm like, what did your teacher say? And then he told her that, my mom's diabetic. So I'm like, oh, so it is there. Like I think he does get concerned.
Yeah, I hear you.
So.
Other stuff that I see sometimes attached to people with type 1, ADHD. Do you see any of that?
Oh, wow. No, I haven't.
Okay.
I don't know. I could possibly, but I don't know.
No, I just mean like in your family, like anybody that you've known is diagnosed ADHD or just like a lot of other things. Do you have any uncles who are bipolar, for instance?
No.
Nothing. Wow, you guys just got a couple of diabetics sprinkled out over 4 generations. It's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows? Like, I don't know. I don't know. There's so much controversy of my mom did have to she was sick, or she had the mumps when she was pregnant with me. So she had to have something that the hospital gave her. I mean, I don't know. You don't know.
Well, back then, could have been whiskey.
Yeah. So again, they don't know themselves, like with the science and stuff, like what causes the body to attack itself with this.
Right. Wow.
If it's in the genetics or if it's like some kind of environmental.
What about your day-to-day stuff? So you haven't mentioned, are you married or no?
Yes.
You are. Okay. So how involved is your partner with your diabetes? Not at all, or?
Not at all.
Yeah. How long have you been together?
21 years.
Okay.
20.
And yeah?
Yep.
And it's just it's a separate thing. Is it like, is diabetes almost like do you not get low ever?
That's just how I manage it.
Right.
So, because like I've had it for so long, and then, and growing up and stuff, I was just, raised more, independent.
Yeah.
And I think just because the dynamics of the family, my parents going through a separation and stuff. So I grew up really, really quick. And it was just one of those where, yes, they're there to help me, but it was just one where I just learned to manage on my own. And again, going through, I'm just trying to think if there was, thank goodness that I haven't had any major complications.
Right.
So, and that's one where I don't like to, yes, I do have my fears of certain things that have gone up, like with my eyes and stuff like that. So I brought my mom with me as a support system. But I try to kind of work through those things on my own until I get there, and then we'll see. Right. But that's why I'm just a huge advocate to do whatever I can to stay proactive and try and do. And that's one of the things too, where, I can't control everything.
Right.
So that's why I'll reach out to my specialists and things like that. So that's where I said that's been a frustration where, and again, I guess with this disease and having it so long that you just have to manage. And
I don't find there to be a right or wrong way. I'm just always interested in how people choose to do it. And and it makes sense to me the way the time you grew up in, and that you were basically on your own a little bit with it, that you wouldn't as an adult think to incorporate another person. And would it be helpful to you, or do you not even feel like you need it for another person to be involved?
No, I think it's just one. I'm trying to no, I don't think it would. I think it's just the way I try to manage a lot on my own. It's just one of those where, and again, I don't know how you could help, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to get my head around.
I know it's interesting to listen that it's just such a different thought for you.
I think the biggest thing is just because even when I go into work and stuff, I don't broadcast it. I'm trying to get more comfortable, but the conversation just gets missed. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain to people sometimes.
Yeah. And that's kind of been my biggest thing is not saying anything to people. And then I do have a low, and then people are like, well, what's going on here? Right. So, that's all. That's just something where I have to learn to get more comfortable with and be more open about it. Not that I'm hiding it. I don't want the attention.
I hear you. Yeah.
And my sister said that too. Because she asked me not too long ago, she just said, I want to ask you something. And she goes, why do you never say, why do you never talk about it? Or why do you never tell people that you're diabetic? And I didn't have an answer for her because I don't know why. It's just one of those where I just don't. I'm getting more comfortable now that I'm working in the industry,
right? Because
people, you really see them change and open up then to know that you have something, especially the type 2s, they'll be talking, or even type 1s and stuff. And it's nice that you can possibly relate to somebody.
Yeah, no, it gives you a jumping in point.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great idea. So I know we started late, and I apologize, but I have to jump off in a little bit soon to get onto another call. So I just want to ask you if there's anything that we didn't talk about that you meant to, so that I don't miss anything for you.
No, not at all. I think I've probably touched on a lot of things. Good. And maybe jumped around a lot because there's
No, it's fine. I don't want to I don't want to miss anything for you. That's all.
No, not at all.
Wow. Well, I really appreciate you doing this, coming on and sharing how you think about things and your path. It's an interesting look into what happens when you come up one way and then there's just a paradigm shift. Diabetes just isn't like that anymore. And you got to live in both sides of it. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you because this is, I've never done something like this before. And like I said, I'm still getting comfortable with this whole, being more vocal about it.
Right. No.
And being asked those questions and any kind of, just my thoughts and feelings about diabetes as a whole.
Yeah, Lisa, you're in an interesting position because you're not you're not an old person, right? But you've had diabetes for a really long time.
Yes.
And you jump, like I said, you jump between two different management. I mean, honestly, three different management like styles. And it's, and your generation, diabetes generation, like you said, is not, not always accustomed to talking about it. And you grew up in a situation that you described earlier where there wasn't anybody to talk about it with. You didn't know other people that had diabetes to begin with. And so I don't know. I like you being able, like, it's interesting that you were willing to do it. Like, why did you want to talk? Like, what drew you to do this?
Oh, I think because when I was working in the health food store, that was kind of when people would come in and they'd be talking about type 2. I'm still intrigued by type 2 diabetes because they have, in my view, they have they have a lot of control of how they can make things go for them. So I like listening to them. I like being that little spark of light for them because they, I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but to see somebody who thinks that this is like, there's no light, that really, it really gives me that chance to inspire somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just as, because I've lived it and I don't know with that. So that really opened my eye that there is a real need. And then when I seen this opportunity come up, I thought, oh, heck, like, why not? I never talk about this. It's going to, again, just get me more comfortable talking about it on a different platform.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, maybe like let other people know that it would be okay to share with family members, strangers, or whatever. That I think.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And I'm all about inspiration. I mean, I'm inspired by people. I don't think I mean, some people say that I inspire them or I motivate that. I don't see that. So again, I mean, if I can inspire or be that light for, one person, then that's a huge win for me.
Good. Well, that's a perfect way to end. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank Lisa for coming on the program and sharing her story with us. And then I'm going to thank BetterHelp and remind you that at betterhelp.com/juicebox, just by going to that link and signing up, you'll save 10% off your first month of therapy. BetterHelp.com/juicebox. And of course, touchedbytype1.org, and save 35% off your entire order at CozyEarth.com with the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. If you're looking for community around diabetes, head to Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. And don't worry if you're not type 1. If you're type 2 or Lotto, or you got it while you were pregnant, or I don't know, however it happens, you're welcome. You're welcome in our Facebook group. There are plenty of conversations going on right now that will help you. Check it out. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. Private group, over 35,000 members.